Feeling lost in the maze of CPS? Desperate to get your child back? You're not alone. Countless parents face the heart-wrenching reality of family separation. The legal system can be overwhelming, but there's hope.
Now, here's the key. Okay, that's how you win a 6-month hearing.
Thank you.
If you do all of those things, you're going to blow your social worker's mind, you're going to blow your attorney's mind, and you're going to blow away the judge.
With attorney Vincent W. Davis, a dedicated legal expert with 39 years of experience, committed to helping families like yours. Join his weekly live Q&A on Zoom, where you can ask your burning questions about CPS cases. Get the knowledge and strategies you need to fight for your child's return.
Alrighty, good evening everyone. This is a question and answer session.
Are you ready to take control of your family's future? Participate as a one-time guest. Don't let fear hold you back. Take the first step towards reuniting your family. Join us now.
All right, good afternoon. This is attorney Vince Davis. I'm here with Miss G for a special edition of the office hours, and we're joined by a very special guest, Miss T, Miss Tony. How are you, Miss Tony?
Great, thank you.
Good.
How are you?
I'm doing good. We haven't met before, but we talked earlier today.
Yes.
And you had a very interesting story to tell, Miss G, and then Miss G got me on the phone and wanted me to hear your story. The reason why I was so interested in the story, because I've heard that story about 3 times this year. No, 3 times in the past 6 months, because we're in February. 3 times in the past 6 months, and you're the 4th person that has told me this, which is kind of interesting and kind of funny in the same way. I'm going to use this from now on in my marketing. Why don't you tell the audience the story that you told me today?
Sure. So it all starts with, I'm a caregiver for an 18-year-old, and she's in her first semester of community college. And yesterday she called me to say that her FAFSA, her financial aid application, had been denied because we submitted the only document that I have showing that she has been in our care. But the community college told us that that document wasn't going to suffice for the application for FAFSA. So they gave me this resource number to call through LA County, and we stood on hold and we waited and we finally spoke to someone. But when the gentleman came on the line, he said that he wasn't going to be able, he was a resource for like the wildfires and things like that, and he wasn't going to be able to support me. So then I called a friend of mine who is a social worker, and I just needed to get straight to the chase. So I called her and I said, in your dealings with the courts and things like that, is there an attorney that you come across that will that wins cases against LA County? And she said, actually, very interesting that they send all of the social workers through training classes. And she said during their training classes, there's an attorney that LA County absolutely despises. And so they showed his YouTube video to us. And so I said, well, what is his name? And she said, he wins a lot of cases, and they do not, they showed us his YouTube video so that we can be aware of this attorney. And so that we can, as we were dealing with these families, we can talk them out of, working with him. And so I said, well, what is his name? And she's like, I don't know. Just go on YouTube, type in, Los Angeles attorney that wins cases against LA County. So that's exactly what I did. And you popped up. You were the only one that popped up. And so I screenshotted your YouTube picture and I sent it to her. And she said, "Yep, that's him." So I was like, "Okay, good."
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Save that thought. Now you're talking to a social worker that works for LA County Department of Children and Family Services, otherwise known as DCFS, correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, and we call them generically, because I do cases all over California, we call them CPS, Child Protective Services.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So she's a DCFS social worker, right?
That is correct.
Okay, continue with your story.
Okay. So after she confirmed that it was you, then I said, okay, now I just need to do a little bit of due diligence to make sure, I already got her thumbs up. So I was like, okay, good. But I still just wanted to just do a little bit of research. So now that I had your name from your YouTube page, I typed it into, just to make it real quick, I just typed it into Chat GPT because I just wanted to get an overarching overview of your background. And it was very interesting. So it started out with, all of the great things, all of the thousands of cases you've handled. And it gave a great feedback on, there are a couple of feedback from participants that you've actually helped. And then as I kept reading, it had all this good stuff about you. And then at the very end, it said, please, just a warning, please be careful because you have an F rating with the Better Business Bureau. And I just chuckled because instead of it being a red flag for me, it was really a green green flag for me to say, oh, okay, yeah, of course. If you actually have nothing but good stuff to do and you're helping somebody, the county's not gonna give you a good rating on business on the Better Business Bureau. So I immediately called, and you had on your website, it says you can actually email as well. So I called and I emailed as soon as I read your little bio.
So you're telling me a DCFS social worker told you to hire me to fight DCFS?
She's a friend.
Okay, so she's a friend of yours.
Yes.
And she told you to hire me to fight DCFS.
That's correct.
Okay. You're the fourth person that has told me that in the last 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And the other people that have told me that have been people like you who had a friend that worked for DCFS, and they went to the friend and they said, hey, I need a good attorney to fight DCFS, and they gave them my name. But the very first person who told me this was actually a social worker who worked for DCFS who needed an attorney because they were allegedly taking away her kids.
Wow.
And she said something to the effect, Mr. Davis, they train us to tell parents to stay away from you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's one of the reasons why I think that is. I represent, a lot of parents in these cases, and I fight to get them back.
Yep.
And I have trials, and I do actual trials with witnesses. A lot of attorneys don't do actual trials. They just go to court and they argue.
Mm-hmm.
That means you're going to have a 99% chance of losing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because attorney argument is not evidence, and judges have to make decisions based upon evidence. The other reason why they don't like me is because when I come across social worker wrongdoing, I usually file a lawsuit against them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of the few attorneys who does both types of cases, civil rights cases and DCFS or CPS cases. There's a lot of attorneys that do DCFS cases or CPS cases. There's, some very good attorneys that do civil rights cases. There are very few that do both.
Mm-hmm.
I personally know 3. And none of them are in Los Angeles County. There's a couple up north, and one of the guys I actually know, I actually went to the Jerry Spence Trial Lawyers College with, and he's semi-retired. So there's basically, not that many attorneys that do both. And that's why they hate me so much, because I take them to trial in the juvenile dependency case, and I sue them if I find out a social worker is lying in a report or has done something wrong. Now, the interesting thing is, I have there's an attorney that used to work for me, a young attorney, and he calls me all the time, and he gets for advice.
Okay.
And I'm not going to mention his name, but I consult him all the time and tell him what to do. He has recently started getting cases, civil rights cases, and he's asked me to help him do these civil rights cases because he's going to start doing both civil rights cases and CPS cases the way I do it. And I think he's going to be a force eventually against CPS in all the different counties in Southern California. His office is actually not in Los Angeles County. He's in another county, but he's actually signed up 3 cases, and they're very good cases against social workers, where we're going to file civil rights lawsuits. So that's one of the reasons why I'm not really liked by social workers, because I actually fight them, and I can tell you so many cases where I watch in court, or I'm waiting for my case to be called, and they have a trial, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really a trial. It's just attorneys arguing. That's not a trial. If your attorney doesn't put on evidence, like a witness or 2 or 3 or 4, and introduce documents or subpoena people into court or bring documents into court, that's not a trial. They'll call it a trial, but that's not a trial.
Mm-hmm.
You have, in my opinion, a 99% chance of losing, right? There's only a handful of attorneys, private attorneys that I know that will really get down and do a trial. Most of them will come to you and tell you, oh, it's best that you plead no contest, and not have a trial. Now, don't get me wrong. Have I ever told a client it's best for you to plead no contest? Yes, I have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When I really believe that, not to get out of doing a trial or to go home early or go back to my office early, right? So that's why I think they hate me. And it's funny because a few of these people that have told me this is that they mention my name and warn people about me in trainings, in general meetings, but in trainings. And, I didn't know I was such, force. In a way, it's kind of an honor, a badge of honor. But in a way, it's like, hey, I'm just a poor attorney, from South Central who's trying to do justice for these people.
Mm-hmm.
And, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of cases. And I only represent a handful of people. And it's interesting that they're so scared that they would bring my name up, show my videos at the trainings, and tell their social workers, allegedly, to talk families out of hiring me.
Yep.
Now, I have had people tell me, and I don't know about you, Ms. G, I have had people tell me, hey, Mr. Davis, I'm going to hire you. And then they go back and mention to the social worker, and the social worker tells them, allegedly, don't hire Davis. He doesn't know what he's doing. And they come back and tell me, hey, I'm not going to hire you. The social worker says, you don't know what you're doing. Okay, no problem. And then usually, 6 months later, 7 months later, they call me, hey, Mr. Davis, I was lied to. I should have hired you. Right. But
it's not just that, though. I have people tell me, other attorneys who are not as long as you in the game, saying, oh, don't hire Attorney Davis. I'm like, why would you guys do that? Why would you do you feel so insecure about yourselves as attorneys to warn other people from hiring the best of the best that you will not ever come close to? And, and I don't get that part. I don't get why they're so threatened by Davis. And then we have people who other attorneys approach them in court when they know that they hired Davis and convince them to get rid of Davis and hire them, and they promised him the moon and the stars. And guess what? There was several of them who begged me to get Davis to take on their case again. And it's too late. They lost their rights already. It's too late. And they already spent all their money on the other troll that got a hold of them in court to convince them to leave Davis, right? And then you cannot promise anyone to get their children back because that's against the law. But these other attorneys, and I'm not going to name them, but they're in LA County, they say, oh no, we promise to get your children back. Davis, he's not going to help you. He's not going to do that. He's not, and they literally write bad reviews on him. Like literally, when I say literally, I mean literally. We have people calling us saying the attorney said that if we go fire Davis and go to him, guess what? He said he's going to take away $6,000 from our retainer, and we have to write a bad review about Davis. And they would literally share the name of the attorney with me, and I would get so mad. And Davis said, why are you mad? I'm like, because that's not right. That's not right practice. That's just wrong. We don't do that to others. Why are they doing this? And Davis says, usually they will attack the best because they are insecure. And that's basically what it is. And that's what the social workers are doing. And that's what other, a couple of attorneys that I know personally do the same thing. And
Tony, I want to tell you a quick story.
It's so sad.
This happened maybe a year ago. I was representing a person here in Southern California. And when I got on the case, this person had visitation half a day a week, 4 hours, 1 day a week. And when the person hired me, the person told me I wanted to get custody back. Okay. So after the person hired me, I brought her all the way back almost to 50-50. And this is before the trial was going to take place.
Okay.
There's a certain attorney, I won't mention the name, who apparently pursued this client, which I think is unethical in California, and convinced the client that they would get the child back and win the case. Now, this particular attorney is not very experienced. This particular attorney is not an expert in dependency law. This particular attorney is not a very good trial attorney. Okay. At the end of that case, I am told that the case was closed and the woman had, I think, 1 day a week supervised visitation. And I am told that this attorney allegedly promised that client that he would get custody of this child back. Promised. Now, it's not unusual because that same attorney has promised that to several people that have called me. That exact same thing happened in another county with another client. I was representing this gentleman, and he told me it was between me and the same attorney, and he hired me.
Okay.
The attorney continued to pursue him, and one day, after our first court hearing, he fired me, and he went with this other attorney. But he kept the client kept calling me and kept in touch with me, and he said that he fired me because the other attorney guaranteed him that he would get the child back. Now, it's against the law for an attorney to guarantee you anything, but he went with it, and now the guy is in the process of losing his parental rights. He's in the process of losing the kid to adoption. So, I don't really begrudge people who say things negatively about me. I tell Miss G all the time, I said, you know what? It's just people being insecure about their position. and sooner or later it will catch up with them if that's the type of person they are, and it will catch up with them. But after you called me today, I called a friend, a very well-known attorney in the United States. I was going to say in Los Angeles County, but in the United States. And I left a message for him. I didn't get to talk to him, but I said, hey, do you do defamation cases? Because I may have one against LA County and DCFS. Because if they're telling people, what you've told me and what other people have told me, I think that's what they call that in law school is slander per se. In other words, it's defaming me in my profession. And if they're telling their employees, their social workers, to make sure that parents don't, and this is all allegedly, if they're allegedly telling their social workers to make sure that people don't hire Davis, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that they might be
Not
liable.
very nice.
I think they might be liable for slander per se, or interfering with my business. So we'll see what happens with that. But Ms. Tony, I want to thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you coming on and telling that story. But it just confirms what other people had told me in the last 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I feel like it's not just them, Vincent. It's last year I had 15 parents tell me what LA County is doing when they find out that somebody hired you. And a lot of them have special meetings when a client hires us. And what they do is they tell the social workers to show up unexpectedly and convince the parent to speak with them, because you always tell them not to speak to the social workers once they hire you, right? So what they do is they tell the social workers to go to force their way, kind of behave in a nice different way to get the parents to trust them, so they can speak with them. And then they will go behind your back. And some parents listen to the social workers, think that they can do this faster, and some parents don't. They call me and say, Mr. Davis said not to speak to them, but they're at my door. What do I do? And then, of course, I say, no, tell them to call your attorney, and give them Davis's number. And they said, but they don't want to go. And then Davis, of course, will have to get involved and, talk to the CPS attorney, et cetera, et cetera. So it becomes more work. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that and he's going to work harder on discouraging you.
Ms. Tony, I represent a lady in Northern California,
So
far from Los Angeles County.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a trial in this county, a CPS trial. And after the trial, I allowed the social worker to interview my client. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to show the judge that we could play nice and cooperate. Allegedly, at this first meeting, do you know that the first thing out of the social worker's mouth was, you shouldn't work with Davis?
Mm-hmm.
Which was kind of funny because it only solidified my client's position about wanting me as an attorney. And my client, texted me that, and, I said, are you kidding? She said, no. So I thought this was just, happening down here in LA.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the social worker allegedly told my client, we don't usually do trials or something like that to that effect. They don't like to have trials. They don't like to be put on the spot. They don't like to be cross-examined.
Mm-hmm.
And I cross-examined that social worker at the trial, and I was a little rough with her. And I think she took that personally. And, she's going to teach me a lesson by convincing my client to get rid of me.
Mm.
Well, I'm still here and, still on the team.
Thank God. Thank God. And I always come to this: no weapon formed against you, Attorney Davis, shall prosper. And, they're going to face their own karma. And when I say karma, I mean God, Jesus Christ is your real karma. And again, I have seen this man in court. I'm not just saying that because he's here. I say this all the time. I've seen this man in court, and as God is my witness, I have seen him hold his cool together when I myself want to beat them up. I see the way they treat him. I see the way they try to discourage him. I mean, distract him. I see what they do behind, because I'm sitting right behind him. I have seen attorneys, CPS attorneys, acting like a fool, distract him when he's speaking. And Davis is still focused, thank God, and he's still alert, and he still, gets his point across. And once he gets his point across, they can't challenge him because his point across is the law. They can't challenge the law. They can't. These trolls, and I call them trolls because they are trolls. They can't challenge the law. There was an attorney. She's Caucasian, blonde hair. Anyway, Davis was talking, and then she's standing right next to him, and she's going to the judge like this, and I'm like, is this happening for real? And I kept looking at her, and I'm like I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And one of our clients' father was sitting next to me, and he's looking at me. He's like, "Do you see this?" Like he's like pointing at her, and she's like, "But Your Honor," like this. And Davis didn't even look at her. Mm-hmm. He was focused on what he was doing. They lost. 6 kids returned to mom. 6 kids returned to mom. They fucking lost. And that's the point I'm trying to make. They hate it because they are stupid. They don't know the law. Mm-hmm. They're so ignorant. It's like seeing somebody who knows the law and they literally call him stupid because they're stupid. It's called what do you call that when they're flipping the table basically. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. They're flipping the table because they can't get it together. They're pointing at the man that will destroy their asses. And guess what? When she came outside and we had a break and we went inside the court, I was sitting outside with the parents and I looked at her and I said, you know what? God is real. I said in front of the parents, I said, God is real and God don't like ugly. Mm-hmm. She looked at me and she knows I'm his assistant. She looked at me and she started laughing. But you know who had the last laugh at the end? I did. Because I saw the mother celebrating with Attorney Davis taking pictures. And I said to God, I said, you are awesome, God. That's the point I'm trying to make.
And I have to just say, Mr. Davis, after I was told from this social worker about you, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to give it a shot because this person is probably, so grandiose and has this big firm, and I'm going to, have to, slice. Walked out and spoke to Grace. Like I said, I called that 888 number and spoke to Grace. And then I just wanted to have another measure. So that's when I went on your email and filled out your comment feedback form email thing. And then I heard from Mrs. G yesterday. So she reached out to me yesterday. I mean, it went like this, like we were just, it was all in alignment for us to meet together. So Miss G reached out, texted me yesterday, and it was like her and I were going back and forth. And she was like, "Okay, this is what I need." And I said, "I have a special circumstance." So she was like, "Okay, I'll reach out and speak to you tomorrow." So then I reached out to her today, and she said, "Okay, I'm ready to talk. You have a few minutes?" And I said, "Yes." And so then that's when I got on the phone with her. So I mean, it was quick. I didn't think I would hear from you for weeks and weeks, and it, literally one day later, here we are. So,
well, I try to get back to people as much as I can, and I do get back to them late sometimes too, because it's this time 8 hours, 8 hours a day. No, I'm talking about late as in late at night, because 8 hours a day is not enough to reach everyone. Mm-hmm. Some people get upset. Some people are so happy that I contacted them at 11 o'clock. I mean, it depends on the person. Some people are just so tired, but I leave it up to them. But some of them, or most of them rather, they say, "Miss G, I can't believe you called me. Like, I can't believe you called me at 11:15 p.m." And they would sit and talk to me and tell me what's going on with their case. The reason we do what we do, it's not
very. I mean, just on like this, mm-hmm. It happened very fast. So
and that's why it's important that people understand. Not every law firm does that, by the way.
Exactly.
They don't do that.
That's the reason why I mentioned it.
So 10:30 at night or 9 p.m. at night or 7 or 7 p.m. It doesn't matter what time. I am like, some people think I don't sleep, which I really don't. I get 3 to 4 hours of sleep, and I'm okay with that. And but the reason we do what we do, and I just want everyone to understand this, is because we believe in what we do. And the system is so broken, and that's why they're trying everything in their power to stop the one man that God has him. Literally, God has his protection over him.
Yeah, that's right.
Me and my coworker Yolanda, we pray for this man every single day for God to protect him, because these trolls, and I'm going to keep calling them trolls, because they're so bankrupt from themselves. That's how ignorant the system is. And what's so sad, recently they took children from a family because they had "I support Donald Trump" outside their home. And the reason they took the children, and the social worker lives down the street from them in LA County, and the social worker told them, "I will take your children." But the judges don't care. That the judges like, it's hearsay. It's hearsay. But if the social worker said it, oh, God forbid, that the social worker is wrong, because the judges take the social worker's recommendation, because they don't have but a court-appointed troll, right, that's representing them. Of course, they're afraid of the system because they're getting their money from the state. Of course, they want the state to win, right? So think about it. How can over 1,000 parents lose their parental rights, right? When they have done nothing to destroy their children, nothing to hurt their children. And how come the ones that do hurt the children given rights to them? How come foster homes that hurt children have the children? See, people don't understand that the foster parents, once they can't, the social workers cannot get the federal funding if the children are not placed in a foster home. They can't get the federal funding unless they speak to the parent. So you guys need to be mindful. They're going to trick you. They're going to send you so many people, so many social workers to try to literally trick you to speak with them. And once you speak to them, what does your mind tell you? I have nothing to hide. Innocent people usually say, I have nothing to hide. But again, that's why we don't let you guys speak to the social workers. But your court troll appointed attorney would say, go speak to the social worker. There's nothing wrong with that. You have to speak with them. I don't need to be with you. Okay? And guess what? That attorney is literally setting you up to fail.
Hey, Ms. Tony, I
Yes.
want to thank you for joining us on this special edition of our office hours. I really appreciate you telling us that story. We're going to change our marketing moniker to the attorney who DCFS is afraid of, or something like that. Ms. G, I want you to think of a slogan. Okay?
I am. I already have it.
All right. Ms. G, you talked to me this past week about doing some other shows on very specific topics, and I want to do that. So let's do a show tomorrow on one or two of those topics. Let's have office hours and do that. Okay?
Yeah, and of course TC. Of course, I already told you. I texted you earlier what we're gonna do, but we don't have to talk about it here. But let's get it done.
Okay.
Yep, very good.
All right.
Thank you
Thank you again,
much.
TC.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, Ms. G, thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you hopefully tomorrow during my office hours. All right? Thank you. Bye-bye.
Feeling lost in the maze of CPS? Desperate to get your child back? You're not alone. Countless parents face the heart-wrenching reality of family separation. The legal system can be overwhelming, but there's hope.
Now, here's the key. Okay, that's how you win a 6-month hearing.
Thank you.
If you do all of those things, you're going to blow your social worker's mind, you're going to blow your attorney's mind, and you're going to blow away the judge.
With attorney Vincent W. Davis, a dedicated legal expert with 39 years of experience, committed to helping families like yours. Join his weekly live Q&A on Zoom, where you can ask your burning questions about CPS cases. Get the knowledge and strategies you need to fight for your child's return.
Alrighty, good evening everyone. This is a question and answer session.
Are you ready to take control of your family's future? Participate as a one-time guest. Don't let fear hold you back. Take the first step towards reuniting your family. Join us now.